Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, as you can see by the title, I will be talking about a person, as a lot of people know, a lot of black folks know, at least in the conscious community, by the name of Umar Johnson. And I will actually be giving my opinion, my thoughts, and basically a timeline of how I've come to know him and how I've come to know the person he is now. Now, granted, I am not a supporter, at least not anymore. I am an ex-supporter, and it's not anything based on how I feel. It's everything that he's done that's caused me to be an ex-supporter. Now, granted, I've been an ex-supporter for a couple of years. This is not just a new thing, so I just want to clear the air on that, okay? I am just now coming on my channel to actually say something, because this is just something I've been wanting to get off my chest for the longest time. So, without further ado, I will be getting into it. So, how I've come to know Umar Johnson is I saw a video from Hidden Colors. I actually was in college. This was the year 2014, about 2014, 2015. I was at a organization meeting, one of the organizations on my campus. I was at their meeting and they were playing bits and snippets of the Hidden Colors 3 documentary. And you know, a lot of things, a lot of points that they were making in this documentary were very accurate, were very valid. Also, they basically helped me, you know, put 2 and 2 together and just say, they make a point right here. They gave me information that I didn't know. Most I did, but others I didn't know. So after that, you know, they showed the bits and snippets, not the whole documentary. And then after that, I was just so intrigued by the people in that documentary that I decided to independently look up the documentary and then watch the full video. And during that year, during that time that I was in college, I basically decided to do more research for myself. I basically decided to watch the video of the documentary. I decided to watch the documentary over and over. So I actually started watching the documentary multiple times because I was that intrigued. And then eventually I started looking up Hidden Colors 2 and Hidden Colors 1. Now, granted, I didn't see Hidden Colors 1, but I saw Hidden Colors 2 and Hidden Colors 3, and of course Hidden Colors 4. Now, I actually was so intrigued by it, I was starting to tell everybody about it, or at least anybody I could. I said, you know what? This is so good. This man is so good. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just Umar Johnson that compelled me. It was really like people like Nas. Nas, I was so surprised to find that a well-known person like Nas was actually in Hidden Colors 3. And I felt like that was a good thing because, you know, anyone who's from New York or anyone who likes hip-hop and rap music or anyone who knows Nas will probably be intrigued by this as well. Anyway, so the more and more I watched the documentary, it was really Umar Johnson that spoke to me because he was really dropping knowledge on history and he was putting 2 and 2 together, and he was basically going into this psychological, you know, way of basically telling what's wrong with the black community based on white supremacy, how white supremacy is working, you know, especially against us, you know. So it really was like, this guy really knows his stuff. And then after the documentaries, I started independently watching him and his lectures on YouTube. And, you know, he said a lot of things that make sense. He was really pointing out issues of ADHD within the school system. That was like the #1 thing he was talking about, that he was, you know, a school psychologist, and he was a, you know, clinical psychologist, doctor of clinical psychology, because that's how they presented his name on Hidden Colors, you know, Dr. Umar Johnson. And I don't call him a doctor anymore because, you know, the whole credentials thing, which I will get to either in this video or another video, because there's so much to say about this man that I have to probably break up this video into parts. So bear with me here. One of the reasons I was captivated by this man was not only was he basically talking this, you know, Black Power points, not only was he talking about like liberation for the black community and basically, you know, breaking down the issues of white supremacy on a psychological basis, but it was basically because he was a psychologist as well. You know what I'm saying? Here he is dropping knowledge on history. Here he is telling us things we probably haven't heard or never known about. And of course, some of the things you look up, you'll find that there is validity to what he says. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, not only is he, you know, like this, which at the time when I was like, even in high school and going into college, I was pretty much like this. I was down for it. And he was like that, and he also was a psychologist, and that also captivated me. That also, you know, pulls me in because I was studying psychology. There were certain things that he said that basically took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I was already thinking it, and he just took it right out of my mouth. So looking back on it, it was like I pretty much found someone who agreed with me, or who would agree with me, or who I agreed with. And that's really what, you know, like, got me. That was really what captivated me, or at least, you know, made me like him, like the way he spoke. And one thing I really loved was because at the time, I believe this conscious community thing, this whole woke movement amongst the Black community, was about not only talking about the problems with white supremacy, and not only with, you know, exposing the problems and the secrets that we probably didn't know about white supremacy, but it was also about, you know, transforming our minds for how we act within the Black community. He was, you know, he talked very scholarly. He was very charismatic, and, you know, that's probably why he's able to articulate his words and stuff, because people have said it, at this point, you're just a good speaker, you know, and that's really what, you know, captivated his audience. You know, he was just a good speaker, and he says things in a way that we're not used to hearing. Instead of like the, you know, hood booger thug on the corner, he basically speaks as if he is a very well educated, very well intelligent and articulated person. And that's why I listen to him, because I want to hear my education from a so-called conscious brother, you know, speaking well, speaking intelligently. And yes, we have our own ways of communicating with a certain demographic that they will understand. But I would not want to get my education from, you know, that hood booger thug sitting on the corner, even if what they said is the truth. I'm least likely, even if you're saying the truth, I'll heed the fact that you're saying the truth. You know, I'll take in the meat and spit out the bones, but I would not, you know, be like a supporter. But he spoke well, and a lot of, you know, Black folks out here using the N-word, he was saying my brother, my sister, and I was like, I was here for it, because I feel like we need to assuage our minds. We need to transform our minds from how we've been thinking. We need to drop this whole, like, ratchet culture that we have, because just as much as white supremacy, it's actually killing our community. It's not doing anything good for our community, okay? And, you know, that was why I was really into this man. I'm like, wow, you're the first Black person out of the many other Black people that I hear not use the N-word. Like, I'm saying, this is why I like this man. This is one of the reasons I like this man. So fast forward, I started seeing a bunch of exposed videos from people like Brother Polite, people like Sinetta and Professor Griff, and, you know, things like that. And, you know, when I was seeing all these exposed videos, I was like, okay, it seems like some of the people that were in the Hidden Color series are getting, like, exposed now. Trust me, when I was in college, especially freshman year, sophomore year, and, you know, you had all these issues with police brutality, I'm going off thinking, yeah, okay, I'm really like this now, because these police brutality issues have me like this, and it really had me in a state of cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? We went on marches around my school and things like that. So this woke movement really had me like this, and I was here for it. And you know, I was seeing all the exposed videos from the people in the so-called conscious community. There were some pro-Black pages that I was following on Instagram, things I was paying attention to, you know, videos I was watching. Now, again, I just ate all the meat and spit out the bones, because not everything I agreed with. However, when I started seeing the exposed videos of people in the so-called conscious community, I was like, Umar, please let you not be one of these people, because you seem to be very good for us. You seem to be very good, at least in educating us. I didn't make this guy a leader. I just made him a teacher, a messenger, an educator. That's how I looked at this. And you know what I said? I feel like, at this point, I feel like we should stop crowning people and coining people leaders and we just need more activists, and we need more messengers, and we need more educators, and we need to work on ourselves as individuals. And you know what I'm saying? Fast forward, I see all the exposed videos, and it's a good thing I did my due diligence, and I said, okay, I started looking up Umar Johnson exposed on YouTube, and I really couldn't find anything at that point. And granted, this was like 2015. I really couldn't find anything at the point. The number one thing I heard from this man, about this man, I should say, is that he was arrogant. And I'm saying, okay, yeah, that can be problematic, but I really didn't sense anything about this man that was arrogant. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't, I'm just thinking, okay, maybe these are people who work closely with him. Maybe these are people who are just reaching. Maybe these are people who are just, digging in deep to either find a problem, or, they're just jumping to conclusions and they're overreacting. So I just kind of let it slide, because I've never seen any instance in which he was arrogant. And then fast forward a little later, the stripper scandal comes out. After the stripper scandal, it was that's when I started seeing some things. Now, granted, with the stripper thing, I thought it was just a rumor, because I was kind of, not too into it. I didn't hear much about it until a little bit later down the line. So with the stripper thing, he was caught with a stripper, and that kind of did a lot of damage to his image, because he has said in his lectures, especially preaching to Black women, he has said in his lectures, I am celibate, or I am refraining from sex, or I am keeping myself until I find the one. Okay, he has said in his lectures, especially preaching to Black women, that he could not be with a woman who isn't unapologetically African. She has to look a certain way. She has to wear her hair in a certain way, because, he was so big on us Black girls and women wearing our natural hair out. And I agreed with that. He even said this in this so-called school, that the Black girls were only going to have their natural hair or natural hairstyles. So no straight hair, no perms, no weaves, or anything like that. And he said this on the Breakfast Club after the stripper scandal came out. So with that stripper scandal, I found it ironic. It wasn't the fact that he was with a stripper that was the problem. It was the fact that he claimed to be refraining from having sex, or he basically claimed abstinence. When you're celibate, it just means that you're not having sex, call it a dry spell. But when you're abstinent, you make a vow and a pledge to refuse from having sex. And that was what he basically was trying to do. He was basically saying, hey, I'm waiting on the one. I'm waiting on the right person. And I kind of felt like that was iffy at the time, because I'm like, no man can keep his thing in his pants. This is the culture of a lot of men, especially in our community. Not only in our community, or mostly in our community, but with men in general. It's I find it hard to believe when a man says he is a virgin, or I find it hard to believe when a man says he's saving himself for marriage. I really found that hard to believe. But because this man has put out that he was this type of, perfect individual, he may not have said it, but he carried himself, and he was intentionally carrying himself as if he was this perfect individual, that, we would probably believe it. Looking back on it now, I think this was an attempt to use that innocent, perfect individual persona to get Black women to want to be with him. You know what I mean? So the stripper thing happened, and at first I thought it was a rumor. I just saw a picture of him and this woman, Kim Ringgold, who was the so-called conscious stripper, It was a picture of him and Kim Ringgold in a picture together, and they were smiling, and of course she had her natural hair in a high puff and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, okay, people just saw him and this girl together, and they looked into her past and then found out she was a stripper with a blonde wig, because it was very hypocritical and ironic of him to be with a woman who wears wigs and weaves. Even if she didn't wear it around him, she wore it still. But I just thinking, okay, this is just one of those things where two people were in a picture together. You found out she was a stripper, and then you just blew this whole thing out of proportion. They do that with celebrities all the time, okay? So I'm thinking that this was just a case of people just jumping to conclusions that were just completely wrong, okay? Then, after digging in deep, seeing the text messages between them that surfaced online, basically when he said, oh, girl, I want to crush your cookies, lame. Basically, yeah, you know, he basically said, I want to crush your cookies. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, so this definitely went down. This definitely happened, because he even talked about how there were certain people like agents, you know, how they say he was talking about the whole COINTELPRO thing in his lectures. He was basically talking about how, you know, they use especially other black folks to take other black folks down. That's what white supremacy is doing. You know what I mean? And he's basically, he had even me fooled a little bit. I was thinking, you know what? She could be, because he's speaking so much about white supremacy and educating us. She could have been sent by the white man and by the government and by, you know, all these different agencies to come take him down. Part of me was thinking that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But looking back on it, no, you just got caught with a stripper. You got caught with another woman. You got caught doing something that you said you would never do. And it wasn't just the fact that he was sleeping with a stripper. It was the fact that you said that you were saving yourself till marriage. You were being celibate. You were basically saying that you were not going to be with any woman who isn't basically checking everything off your perfect woman list. And a stripper didn't seem to have the credentials to be that person for you, but you were still sleeping with her. So it wasn't the fact that she was a stripper. It was the fact that you were being dishonest. And what I found very disgusting about the situation, learning, you know, later down the line, was that you basically turned everything around on her. Now, granted, you two are two consenting adults, and you basically blamed her and claimed that she got in the way and that it was her who ruined this supposed $1 million deal that you could have got from an unnamed athlete. Now, granted, when he first mentioned the athlete, I was like, well, why can't you reveal his identity? And I'm thinking at that time, because this was at that time, I'm thinking, okay, yes, athletes and people in the limelight cannot be, you know, too quote unquote political, too like involved in the social movement, because they'll have their jobs and livelihoods threatened. So I'm thinking this person is being kept anonymous because, and even if it's not like a big NBA player like, you know, the Dwayne Wades or the LeBron Jameses of the world, but it's still an NBA player with a sufficient amount of money to donate to this school. And because the stripper scandal kind of got in the way of it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this person's trying to keep his identity a secret, because if like the bigger authorities found out, he could lose his livelihood, so he pulled out. So I'm thinking, and I thought it was sort of real, but then looking back on it, I'm like, no. There was chances are there was no NBA player, there was no $1 million, you know what I'm saying? And yes, he could have gotten closer to his supposed goal to get the supposed school, but looking back on it, you know, there was definitely no NBA player. I believe there wasn't an NBA player because if you think about it, NBA players have been caught in much bigger scandals than this. NBA players have been caught in scandals such as domestic violence, murder even, sexual assault, especially with this Me Too movement. Athletes have been caught in bigger, worse scandals, you know, than just you were connected with a guy who was sleeping with a stripper and, you know, he just decided to pull out $1 million. And even if this scandal was bad, yes, it would look bad for your image and reputation. You couldn't have thought that this NBA player couldn't have still donated secretly and kept their identity a secret just so you could build up a school for the boys. Because one of the things is, the stripper came out and said that Umar Johnson was arrogant. And she came out and said that there was no school. This school was a fraud. And I find it funny because after this, he just blamed everything on her. And I'm going to talk about this probably in another video a little bit deeper about how, you know, it's funny how he's hypocritical. So anyway, after that expose, you know, I kind of brushed it off. And, you know, a lot of people did talk about it. And I noticed it was... looking back on it, I noticed there were a lot of like black men going in on black women, going in on this stripper, basically saying she was a liar and she was sent by the government to take him down. And of course, you look back on it now and realize that no, it was him messing up. It was him messing up that caused all this to happen. And look what he does. He deflected the blame and said it was her. She tricked him, she seduced him, and he fell for it. But I'm saying, if you were true to yourself and you claim to be this person who can handle your own and, you know, be smart about this, you would think he would not succumb to that temptation. So after the stripper scandal, fast forward to 2016, by the end of the year, I'm still watching him. I'm still cool. I still see these exposed videos because the only exposed video was about him being arrogant and about him with the stripper. And I'm saying, Lord have mercy. I feel like this is, it's only a matter of time. I felt in my heart of hearts, it was like only a matter of time before he messed up. And I was just praying, like, don't mess up, because you're a great speaker, you're a great educator. We need you. You're coming out with a school. We need something like that. Because I'm thinking when he's coming out with the supposed school, which now I don't believe is really going to happen. When he was coming out with this supposed school, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is the first thing that's ever been done ever, you know, an Afrocentric center type school that's gonna, you know, educate us about, you know, our history, our culture, you know, the problems with white supremacy. I'm thinking this is gonna be a really good thing. And if we don't get it, it's like, you know, the end all be all, you know, it's going to be a problem. So he, aside from the school, fast forward 2016, the end of the year, and I remember the date like it was like yesterday. I remember the date. Okay, December, I believe, 26, 2016. Here he comes with a rant to SETI. Now, granted, I don't know who SETI is. I didn't know who SETI was before this. I didn't know he was a part of this conscious community. But, you know, his name is Sarah Sutton SETI. And, you know, he was part of the conscious community. Okay, so here comes Umar Johnson with a rant against him. I saw Lovely T's video on this rant about how he was going off. You know, she put out the original video and I saw the bits and snippets of it, and then I went to see the full video, and that's what really did it for me. That's really when I stopped following him. That's really when, you know, I really backed away from him, because I was just so shocked to see that this was his demeanor. And not only that, but he was dropping a lot of N-bombs. He was dropping a lot of contradictory insults to SETI that contradicted everything he said in his lectures. And that's what really hurt me, because that's when I saw his true colors. There's a saying, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. When people show you who they are, believe them. And he showed me who he was. And, you know, all the things about him being arrogant, that I saw that in that rant video. And it wasn't just the rant video that made me stop him, but like I said, it was just the things he said in the rant video. It wasn't you yelling, cussing, cursing. It was what you said and how contradictory you were being. Fast forward, he comes out with a apology video. And of course I use quotes because that apology wasn't really sincere. And a lot of people had something to say about that. Lovely T even came out with a video about that. She said there was no real apology. It was just a bunch of deflection and, you know, him blaming everybody else. He only, you know, apologized in like the first 3 minutes before he said, you know what? You guys should have really had my back and gone to bat for me, because I've done so much for the community. And then I'm thinking, well, before you say what you've done for the community, I haven't really seen you do anything but talk and go on lectures. And I'm thinking, yes, okay, I get it. Educating the community, educating the people, that is just as much necessary and just as much beneficial, you know, to, as giving money, or as, you know, starting a project, or as doing physical work. But let's just be real, all that you've done for the community, it's not like you've done the most for the community just because you've talked and, you know, educated us. And you've just basically said a whole bunch of ish about white folks. That's really what you've done. You really just stroked our egos. You basically said we should be doing it for you, and that's kind of problematic. Now, I get it. Like, I'm all about reciprocity. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Let's both be in this together. I'm cool with that. However, it's as if you want us to co-sign with your bad actions. And let's talk about that fake phone call in that rant, okay? He even tried to deflect from that. Now, when I saw that phone call ring, it's funny because it rang once, you turned it off, and then you picked it up again and then started speaking into the phone like, yeah, I got this. Like, yeah, I got this. Yeah. And then you kind of nonchalantly put it down as if, you know, what, like you didn't know what happened. And then in that fake apology video, you came back and said, you guys are stupid. Don't you know that the call dropped? And when a call dropped, it actually picks up again. And I actually looked that up, okay, to see. I'm like, Google, when a call drops, does it ring again? And I don't see any evidence saying that. So no, you couldn't lie your way out of that one, okay? So yeah, see, after that, that was just a problem for me. I was just like, not only were you using truth as a deflection, and that's another thing. That's kind of what I hate, when people use truth as a deflection. He was even saying, hey, you guys are done with me. You're done with Papa. You're done with Big Papa, but you're not done with Team Walmart. You're not done with Team McDonald's, and they actually hurt the community. You're not done with Team Chinese food, but you're done with me over an hour. And it's not just about you being done with you over an hour. It's just about that you showed your hand, you showed your true colors. And yes, I am not going to deflect from the fact that yes, Walmart and McDonald's and the Team Chinese people, they do not do good for the community. They hurt the community too. Yes, you know, Walmart, I heard the owner's prejudice, so that's bad. McDonald's and the Chinese food, they just serve bad food to the community. But you're just using truth as a deflection, okay? I find it funny. And what I find funny is the dumb people going to bat for him. You know, there was this one woman, she made like a few second video talking about how she has his back. Now, most people backed up off of him. Most people backed up. But this one woman, and one of the few YouTubers that I've seen at least, she was saying, guys, look, we shouldn't stop supporting him because look at what he's done for the community. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell she's probably like either new to him, but I could tell this was a single black woman. I had a feeling this was a single black woman. Notice how his target market is single black women. He goes after them. And that's the problem. Black women, we're kind of easily manipulated, especially by black men, because you know, some of us who don't think for ourselves, and I'm going to make a video specifically about that when it comes to him, don't worry. But you know what I'm saying? This woman was basically kind of going to bat for him, and she was kind of nonchalant, but you could tell, like, I'm like, poor unfortunate soul. You poor unfortunate soul, in pain, in need. These poor unfortunate souls, like this young woman, she was going to bat for him after his rant, after he showed his hand, and you're going to bat for him like, look at what he's done for the community. You know, he's right, Walmart and McDonald's, they don't do anything for the community. So Umar, I still support you. Oh my God. I'm like, look, maybe it's just easy for me to cut people off, but you know what? I can kind of understand where she was coming from. Not that I agree with her, but I see why she was so captivated, because she's just so about the movement. You notice how it is? People who are easily manipulated and, you know, they're being told about a movement, they just feel like, you know what? I'm going to stick with it, even though it gets hard, even though it gets bad, even though this person is showing their true colors. I just want this movement to work so much, so I'm just going to stick by them. And you know what? I felt bad. I felt bad. I was like, but she was one of the few. It seems like a lot of people at that time were mostly against him than they were for him because of the rant video and the fake apology video that came out. So that was it. Now, fast forward, I haven't heard too much of him. I started seeing these exposed videos pop up left and right after that on YouTube, and I was just watching the hell out of them, and I was starting to put two and two together, and I'm like, you guys are making good points. And it seems like a lot of signs are pointing to, yes, this man is a fraud. This man is a con artist. And the more and more videos I watched, even from before 2015, the more and more videos I watched, the more and more I'm like, I'm putting two and two together. And it's like, yeah, a lot of signs are pointing to yes. Now, granted, I have given him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but more part of me, not even part of me, most of me, I would say a good 99.9% of me actually believes that this man is a fraud and a con, and I only give him that 0.01% the benefit of the doubt, or at least when it comes to the school thing. But you know what? I'm making that into an entirely different video because I'm going to break up this video into parts. So I will come back with a new video, guys, and you know, hopefully you guys see it. Tell me what you think in the comments section about, you know, this video right now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.